Hello. So we are in Chapter 12, Investments for Business Math. So Lesson 12.6, Mutual Funds. So we've been moving through investments in this chapter. So we started with certificates of deposit, which are, CDs. We spent a couple of chapter or sections on those. And we spent a couple of sections here on buying stocks and stock dividends. So now we're moving into mutual funds. As always, I say this in every video, make sure you are reading through the section and looking at the examples, paying attention to the formulas they give you. It's going to definitely help you work through these worksheets. Don't just jump into the worksheet without learning the concept first, basically. So they always give us a little bit here, just a summary up at the top. So we always get a little summary of what the section was about, and then we get some formulas. In this case, we're getting quite a few. So we'll go through these in just a second. So this top part says investors purchasing stock in a mutual fund may pay a loading charge. Type A funds are front-loaded and investors pay when purchasing the stock. Type B funds are back-loaded and investors pay when selling the stock. Mutual funds stock is bought and sold at its net asset value, NAV. The following formulas are used. So they're giving you some quick background, very, very small summary of this section. So like it said, front-loaded just means you pay the charges up front. Back-loaded means you pay them on the back end, meaning when you sell the stock, that's when you have to pay your purchasing charge, loading charge. Forgot what it was called for just a second there. Lost my train of thought. So they're giving you some very, very quick information there. All right, so to calculate a loading charge, you multiply the loading rate by the number of stocks invested or amount of the sale. So it kind of depends on which one it's telling you to do there. And then number of shares purchased equals the amount invested minus the loading charge divided by the net asset value per share. So again, they're throwing some more words at you. You definitely need to be reading the chapter to understand exactly what all of these mean. So just jumping into this video even, you need some background information before you jump in over here. So net selling price, we're going to multiply the number of shares by the selling price per share. So how much can I sell them for? How many do I have? And then you're going to subtract the loading charge from that, because you don't get that loading charge. It's something you have to pay. So it's taken away from the net selling price. Profit or loss. So net selling price minus your investment. So that one's, one of the more basic calculations here is just, did you make something or did you lose something when you sold it? All right, so complete the table, round the numbers of shares to the nearest hundredth. So for this first one, and we're only going to look at a couple rows here, and then I'm going to move on to another problem because I'll let you complete the rest of the table here. So you have net asset value per share. So they give you the net asset value per share in this table. They tell you how much it is. It's literally how much it is outside of the cost of each share. That's what net means. So an amount invested, they also give you how much you're investing in these stocks. Loading rate, they'll tell you, either it's no load or it has a percentage here. And then, or no percentage. And then this one says loading charge is 500. So there wasn't a percentage, it was just a flat rate of $500. So, kind of depends on whether or not that's worth it. If it's a percentage and it's a little smaller, so this one, it's already filling it in for us. We know the loading charge will be $750 and they calculated that. I'll kind of show you how they did that in a second. So, $15,000 invested cost $750, $11,000 cost $500. So, not too far off of each other. But definitely depends, if you were only investing $1,000 but had to pay a $500 loading fee, that's kind of steep. So, all right. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So in this column, what you want to do is you want to multiply the amount invested by the loading rate, and that will give you the loading charge. That's the first calculation up here. So amount invested, how much did you invest, times the loading rate, the percentage they're giving you. So you simply just multiply, and I'm going to put a little dot in here showing multiplication, boop, 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 all the way down, and that will give you this column here, okay? So you simply just do the multiplication. So if you do 15,000 times 5%, you get 750. That's how they fill this in. So you can fill in the rest of these. It's just a simple multiplication there. Amount invested minus loading charge. So you simply just subtract the loading charge from what you invested. So if I invested $11,100, I'm going to subtract this loading fee from it, and I get 10,600. So again, not a crazy calculation there. You just have to know, pay attention to what it's asking you to do there. It's literally telling you amount invested minus the loading charge. And then number of shares purchased. So remember, number of shares purchased is the amount invested minus the loading charge. So they actually had you do that calculation already, the top part of the fraction there. And then you're just going to divide this number by the net asset value per share. Remember, they gave us that net asset value per share. So I'm going to divide 10,600 by $53, and I get 200 when I complete that division. All right, so not super complicated calculations in here, but definitely a few of them you have to pay attention to what you're doing there. So this together is this. Oops, I did that really bad. So this together, these two, are this calculation here. So they first have you do the top part of the fraction and then divide to get the answer. So for whatever reason, they just separated that out for you on this table. All right, so I'm going to let you fill in the rest of the table. Nothing super crazy going on here. Just have to do all those same calculations. So I'm going to move down. Oh, nope, I didn't want to zoom out. Zoom back in. I wanted to move down. Okay, so we're going to take a look here at number 7 and 8. Let's see. Okay, so you need to pay attention to the wording on these ones, definitely. So Charles Jordan invested $50,000 in Astoria International Large Cap Mutual Fund Type A. Remember, that means that the fund, the loading charge, is front loaded, meaning you're paying it as you buy them. The net asset value is $56.85 per share. The fund is front loaded, which they remind you here, at a rate of 4%. So what is the loading charge? Remember, that's the amount invested times the load rate, or the loading rate, okay? So you just simply multiply 50,000 times 4% here. And that'll give you part A. How many shares did Charles buy? So if you want to know how many shares he actually bought, instead of just how much did he invest, you have to take the amount he invested, subtract the loading charge from it, and then divide by the price per share. So again, we're doing that second calculation, and I can kind of go back up here for a second. Boop, so you can see the equations here. So we're doing, this is part A, this is part B. So you have to use these two equations in here. All right. And let's see if I keep going here. Boop, boop. So number 8, the Nortons invested $137,500 in the Washington Real Estate Mutual Fund Type B. So remember, that means backloaded, Type B. The NAV, remember, it's up above the formulas there, but NAV stands for net asset value. So they're using that instead of the words. So the NAV of the fund at the time of purchase was $55 and was backloaded with a loading rate of 3.25%. When the Nortons sold their shares, the NAV was $59.95. So lots of information here. So we know how much they invested. We know that it's Type B, which means that they are backloaded. We're not going to pay that fee yet. We're going to pay it when we sell it. And at the time when they purchased it, they were $55 with a loading rate. Remember, this is the back end. We're going to pay that when we sell it, of 3.25%. And then when they sold it, it was $59.95 per share. So it went up a bit. It was $55 when they purchased it. Now it's $59.95. All right, so the first part is how many shares did the Nortons buy? So we simply just want to take how much did they invest and divide by the price per share. So we're going to take this 137,500 and divide by price per share at the time of their purchase, right? That'll tell us how many shares they purchased. We don't have to subtract the loading fee yet because remember that's on the back end. That's at the end for type B. So simple calculation there, not too crazy. You're just dividing how much did they invest by how much was each share. Excuse me, sorry. All right, so part B, considering the back end load, how much profit or loss, that's why they put it in parentheses, did the Nortons make on their investment? So we need to figure out how much they sold it for, number one. That's going to be a big one. So we want to take their however many they purchased, so the answer here, and we want to multiply that by the price they sold it for. Okay, that'll tell us how much they sold all their stock for, or their mutual fund, sorry. And what we need to do after that is multiply. So once we get our selling price, and I didn't want to do all the calculations for you here, I'm just kind of walking you through it. Once you get your selling price, then you multiply by 3.25%, and that'll tell you your load fee, load charge, sorry. All right, so that'll tell you what your loading charge is. And we need to pay attention to that because that's going to take away from our profits, right? We have to subtract that amount because we have to pay that. So we're going to take the selling price, again, selling price. Oops, selling price, I can write in here. And we're going to subtract our load charge. Load charge. So we're going to put that over here, okay? And that's going to tell us the net sale. How much did we actually get? Net sale. Because we have to take into account the back end load. In order to know if it's a profit or a loss, we have to take this net sale and subtract from 137,500. That's how much they originally invested, right? So we're going to subtract the amount they originally invested. If it's positive, that's a profit. If it's negative, that's a loss. So you just have to decide what is this once you have this number here. If you sold it for more than you purchased it for, then hey, you made money. If you sold it for less than you purchased it for on your net sale, then you lost money. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys finish that one up. I know that was kind of a lot going on there. Not super crazy calculations. You just have to pay attention to what do you need and how do I get that from the information they gave me up above. All right, well, I hope that helped, and I will see you in section 7.